Hi, welcome back to another tutorial in this learning C++ journey. So in previous two videos, we got a really good idea of how strings work in C++. We got the idea about C-type strings and as well as class of strings. Now in this video, we are going to create a really interesting project that is called Mod10 project or Luhn algorithm. So basically this algorithm is used for validation of some number. So let's have a look at the definition of this algorithm. So a Luhn algorithm, also known as modulus 10 or mod 10 algorithm, is a mathematical formula for validating identification numbers for credit cards, IMEI, social security numbers, corporate identification numbers, etc. So basically you can use this algorithm, or with the help of this algorithm you can actually validate whether the given number is valid or not for an IMEI, for ATM card number, etc. So basically it does that job for you. So first thing is validation. After that you have to check in your database whether that number exists or not. But first thing is that you have to check whether that number is valid or not. So it has a lot of applications. You can use it in ATM program, you can use it on your online some kind of store, etc. So let's go and have a look at the steps that we will follow to implement this algorithm. Okay, so first of all that sometimes what happens that many people like to write the number of ATM card or IMEI with the spaces in them or characters in them. So in this way they can see it clearly and they can see that whether it is right or wrong. So what will happen if it has some characters or it has some spaces? What will happen that it will affect your calculation of Luhn algorithm? So first of all, we have to make sure that we have only the string of numbers. Okay, so let's go and implement this part of our code. Now in the previous tutorial we also have learned about this, so I'll just write the code. So first of all we will use string and we will get input from user. Okay, so input from user, we will use this variable, or we can just say input from, or we just use input. So it's simple, input is going to be also from the user, so no need to write the whole long variable. So input from user. So first thing first is cout, enter your number. So we will take input from user and with the help of get line, and we will store it with the help of cin and the string name. So this is input. Okay, so what we are going to do is to remove each and every character other than the digits itself. So let's make a function. So we will call this function filter function. Filter function, in which we will pass the input. Okay, input string. Okay, now here we will declare and define our function with void return, because we are going to receive the reference of our string, so we can easily make changes to our string data type. Okay, so function, and we will receive string and the input. Okay, so we will receive the input. So this input is something else because it is defined for this function and this is defined only for main. So it is local to this function, it is local to this function. These are not global, so that's why it is not going to affect our code. Now what we are going to do is to receive, sorry, not to receive, but declare an empty string. So we will say string equals to, sorry, empty, or we can use empty equals to nothing in it. Okay, so we have got nothing in it. Now what we are going to do, we are going to do for loop, and we will use the shorthand for the range based for loop. Okay, so it is character C, and we will use input. Okay, so that is our limit, that is going to be our limit. So we will use a function called isDigit. If isDigit digit of C is equals to 1. So that means if the number that is encountered in the input string is a digit, so please return 1. So if it returns 1, what we will do is we will EMT plus equals to the C. So what does this statement of code means? That we will use concatenation basically. So this is the concatenation rule that we have already discussed in detail. So there are two types to do it. So one with the plus sign and other is with the dot append syntax as well. So we will use this plus sign. So this is more of the better like choice to do. Okay. Now next thing that we are going to do is that we will clear out the input array. So we will say input dot and we will say clear. Okay, so clear, it will wipe out all the data that it was in the string because we do not need this, and we will update our input with our new data. Okay, so this is our new data. Now let's print the input after we do all these changes. Now let's print here. Okay, all right, let's hope for the best. Okay, enter your number. So 1122, a space, 8899, a dash, and 999. Okay, so what do we have here is 1122, 8899, and 999. So we have successfully removed the space bar, this space bar, and the dash character from it. So this was a nice concept to learn. Okay, let me just give you a quick walkthrough of this function, what it's how it's working. Okay, so what we are doing here is that we are receiving input from user and we are passing the our string. So here we are receiving the reference to the string instead of the value, so we can easily make changes on the basis of the reference received to the input. Now what we did here is that we used a range based for loop. We discussed it in detail in the previous tutorial. Okay, and here we used if is digit function. So what does is digit returns is a boolean variable like 0 or 1. So it returns 1 for a digit and it returns 0 for another character. Okay, so when we receive this one, we say that if it is digit, so just append them or add them or concatenate them, add them into our empty string. So what we did here is that we have cleared out all the data that was there before, because we know these are dynamic arrays and these can just exceed to a lot of capacity as well. So just to be on a safe side, we just wipe out all the data. You can just see out the input here for just understanding that how it is wiping out all the data. So I'll just print the with ender. Okay, so let's have a look. 1122 space 6677778. So input is equals to empty. So right now the input is empty just after clearing it out. Okay, so it can be useful. So what we did so far is our first step. So our first step was to have string of numbers only. Now what we are going to do, that here is a logic. What we are going to do is that we will multiply 2 with each number at even position, and if the multiplication results in a number greater than 9, so we will add them separately in our sum, and we will calculate the sum of all those even position numbers. And also same goes for the odd positions as well, that we will add straight forward them, no need for multiplication of 2 with them. So this is going to be a same logic. So I'm just going to fast forward this code and I'll just explain you after I code it. Okay, so let's go. Alright, so we have created a function that will calculate the sum at each even position number, but with a multiplication with a 2 multiple. So if we multiply that even position number with 2, if the multiplication results in a result greater than 9, what we will do is to separate those numbers. For example, we get 18, so we will have to add 1 plus 8 like this. Okay, so we will add 9 instead of adding 18. Okay, other than that, if it is less than 9, we will straightforward add it into it. So we use temp to just separate those numbers with the help of modulus operator, and just we used here 1 plus. So when we get the other part of number and 1 separately, so we just added 1 plus that part and plus temp. Okay, so what do we have here is the logic for the even position as well. Now we are going to implement the same logic for the odd position as well, but that is going to be easy because we are just going to add odd position number. No multiplication of 2 is required. Okay, let's go. I'll implement that function and I'll explain it when I implement that function. Okay. Okay, so we are then implementing our odd position as well. As you may have saw in the fast forward that I've just copied this code and pasted here. So I had to remove this logic from it because there is no need to multiply 2 for odd position as well. And plus I have to start from index 0 because odd position starts from first position. Okay, so this is what we have: even position sum and odd position sum. Now the main thing before doing these things was to change the order of these of this string. Okay, so we will use a reverse function for that. So reverse, and we will pass input dot begin the starting iterator, and we will pass input dot end. Okay, so now what do we have here is the reverse of string. So it also deals with the pointer, so we do not have to have a receiver variable here in the main function, so we will just pass the pointer. Alright, so we have completed the implementation of our Luhn algorithm project, and let me just give you a quick walkthrough. After that, we will have some test values with the help of which we will determine that our algorithm is working fine or not. So first function, what is first function? It is filter function. So the main purpose of this filter function is that to receive the reference of our string. Within that string, with the help of reference, we will update its value such that it will filter out all the data such that characters like spacebar, dash, etc. Okay, so we will only have numbers. So how does this is digit works? I have told you earlier as well that it returns a boolean variable whether it is a digit or not. So if it is a digit, we are adding it to our empty string. So before we do some changes to the our initial string, so we just wipe out all the data that was available in that dynamic array. So we just clear that with the help of clear function, and then we updated it with our new string, which is consisting of only numbers. Now we have next function. This is the next part, but before we jump into this function, we have a reverse function. With the help of reverse, we are reversing the string as it is stated in our step 2 that we have to reverse our string. So we just reverse it. Now in the third step, we are passing our string to our even position function. So in even position function, what we are actually doing is we are starting from the index 1 up until the size of an array. So array, by array I actually mean this string. So what's happening that it's updating each value. Let me just demonstrate you what this statement actually means. So every value has its own ASCII value. So if I say C is equals to 1, So what is it read by a compiler? It's not actually an integer one, so it is a character one. So a character one has a ASCII value of 49. I guess if I'm not mistaken, it will be 49. So let's print out its ASCII value. So the ASCII value of 1 is 49. So in order to achieve the actual integer value of 1, we have to minus 48 from each value. So then what we can have? We can have an actual one. So this is what's this is what we are doing in our array iterations as well. So for 2 minus 48 will give us 2 actually. Okay, so this is the logic behind this step. Okay, so now what we are doing, that we are updating each character integer value with actual integer value, then we are multiplying it with 2 as we have studied in our algorithm steps. 2 multiplied by the value, if the multiplication results in a greater value than 9, then we have to divide into 2 parts. One is that one part and other is 8, 9 or 4, whatever the number is, that part. So the temp will contain that number part. For example, if we have 18, so 18 mod 10 will give us 8, so temp will have 8 and 1 will be added by us manually, explicitly. Okay, then we will update the temp with 0, so just to remove the previous data and to avoid any kind of errors due to some raw values or previous values. And now if the multiplication does not result into greater value than 9, then we will add just in a normal way, sum plus equals to temp. Then we will return the sum of those even position numbers. Now here we have the odd position function. So in this we are just simply adding the odd position numbers starting from 0th index. So 0th index is the first position, then third, then fifth, and so on. And we are doing the same here. So we have know that 2 multiply by number multiplication. So we are good to go here. So this is just simple addition of the numbers and we are returning the sum. Now as we study in our algorithm that it is the mod 10 algorithm, so what we will do is to add the values obtained by the position of even numbers and position of odd numbers, and we will mod by 10. So if it completely divisible by 10, it will generate 0, so it will be a valid number. If it is not completely divisible by 10, it will generate something else, so it will be an invalid number. Now let's test our program with the help of some examples. Here I have a valid number. I will just copy this. We will run this code now. Paste it here. So it is a valid number. Okay, it is working. Now let's check it for invalid number. Run the code. Invalid number. Yes, it is invalid. And now let's check it out with the other some valid numbers. So copy this one. We'll paste it here. It is a valid number. It is good. And we will just copy this number, which is an invalid number. Okay, copy. And we will go here and paste it in our console window. And it is an invalid number. So all right, it is working totally fine. If you want to check how each iteration is producing what kind of result and how it is working on the basis of all these steps, so what you can do is to put cout statements in each iteration and write the variable name, so it will give you an idea how this algorithm is working. So I hope you guys have learned something from this regarding the strings as well as using them in functions as well. And I hope you have got the idea of Luhn algorithm. You can use this in your ATM designing functions as well. So this was it for this tutorial. I'll meet you guys with another tutorial in this learning C++ series. Until then, bye.